the confusion and the trouble, we'll go ahead with Miss Vijaya Sigamani instead. She's the Director of Royal Security Singapore. She's an entrepreneur, social worker. She's an entrepreneur, social worker, and a visionary leader who has shaped businesses and has helped impact communities in very significant ways. Miss Vijaya, the stage is ready.
Okay, the stage is ready, but I'm not. Okay, so I'm Vijaya Sigamani, and I run a successful security business in Singapore. Why I'm saying this? Because the way I got to this far was not easy. And when they told me to share my life story, I thought I would start from 6 years old. Okay? So, words are powerful. When people say to you, have always a big impact on me, what people say to you. And that has always pushed me to where I am now. So before I start telling my story, I'm actually very grateful and thankful for all these people for saying those words to me, and for those who threw stones at me and been judged by them. So, story begins. At 6 years old, my grandmother told me, okay, now we have a newborn baby brother in the family. You girls, that's myself and my sister, won't be doted anymore because they are having a baby boy after about 7 years. Okay, so that hurt me deeply. So I showed my emotions at that age by showing tantrums and also by showing hatred towards my baby brother, who was extremely cute. So I used to pull his milk bottle when nobody's looking, used to pinch him, take away a pacifier. So I used to do all these things to him. So as a child, what I wanted at that age was that I want to do my very best to be a child where parents always dotes on me. And to get this label, good girl, clever girl. So that kept me going for a while. So one day, when I was 7 years old, I have a sister who is very, very mischievous, was 1 year younger than me. We have this 2-door cabinet, and she was sitting inside the cabinet and was rocking the cabinet. We were trying to play hide and seek. But when she was inside the cabinet rocking herself, my brother, who was a toddler, was just below the cabinet. So the cabinet was here, he was here. So she was rocking it so hard, because those days wood was like a very cheap kind of wood. So she's rocking it so hard until I realized at one point the cabinet is just going to topple over him. So what I did at that age is, it was just an instinct. I went to hold the cabinet, which was like quarter way down. So I hold it and I screamed at the top of my voice, calling my mom. So she rushed from the kitchen to come and help me and push back the cabinet. So there I go, the Wonder Woman of the family, and everybody praising me for saving my brother. Otherwise, we couldn't even imagine what would have happened. So that day, it made me think, you got to do these extra things to get this superwoman kind of feel. So that was a strong suit for me, and I went on with a kind of mode for a while. So trying to please my parents, doing very well in the studies, taking care of the siblings at home when they're not around. I was actually also very amazed with my strength. And after that, my grandmother and the rest who came and asked that what happened, the incident and all that, my parents were full of praises about me. So that kept me going. And I was still took up my leadership role very, very seriously from that age. 7, 8, 9, 10. Then at primary 4, right, I failed my exams. It was actually a mid-year exam. By end of the day, when they counted all your scores, your marks did not meet for you to go the primary 5. So instead of pursuing my education in the normal academic stream, I was pushed to the extended stream. That was how it worked those days in Singapore. So which means that I can only do my PSLE on my 8th year instead of my 6th year, because the government thought I was a slow child. So I need 2 more years to finish up the primary school exam. So that was the biggest setback for me. And all my friends who went on the normal academic stream laughed and mocked and even stopped talking to me. So that was one thing which is going on in school. Another thing which was going on strongly was, even though my parents didn't say much about me failing my primary 4, because they were so busy taking care of my sister who was quite ill at that point of time, and they had still my small brother. So they said, okay, fine, that's okay. Just stay back two years and then move on. It was my grandfather who said this statement. He said, oh, so by the time you finish your primary school, you'll be 15 when you go to secondary school. So in 15 years old, your hormones will be different, and then you will start falling in love with boys. So that's it. You will not end up studying in secondary school. And he used this strong statement on me saying that you'll be just like your mom, will end up stop studying. Because my mother fell in love at 14 years old with my father, and my grandfather stopped her from school. So that's a stigma I carried. I was so furious. I wanted to show. So I worked very hard. So very hard that, day and night, all I think is just studying, and my only ambition at that point of time was to become a graduate. Sorry, I'm still old-fashioned. Okay. So, as it is, I was already beating up myself for not doing too well, and then now I have this challenge to prove my grandfather and the rest that I am going to do very well. And at that point of time, the only graduate in my family was my uncle. There was no other female graduates. So I told myself that, you know what, I'll be the next female graduate in the whole family. So I worked very hard, no love, no nonsense, because he said so. And then just studied. So there's no fun at all, just study. Of course, eventually I became a graduate, but with lots of delays, a lot of ups and downs. So finally I got my degree in SIM, Business Management Honors. So after that, what happened was, after I graduated, only then I started thinking about, okay, what job shall I do? So my father was a policeman, ex-policeman. So I thought, okay, let me go into prisons. It looks so exciting, handling the prisoners. And I'll be this woman who can handle all the female prisoners. So I had so much of dreams about it. So by the time I finished my last paper, my father came up and told me that, no, you're coming and joining me in the business. I said, of course, father's health was not doing too well. He was going through kidney dialysis, and he was a kidney failure patient. He went to do his operation. So there were so many things going on for him. So, of course, being a daughter who always wanted to please the parents, I said, okay, fine, I will do. So, even before my results came out, I went to join his company. And it wasn't like a glamorous place to be working, because security agencies those days, the security officers were called as jagas those days. So it was not glamour at all. And so I just went in, thought I would just try for myself. So when I went in, right, nobody, being the first graduate in the company, nobody actually taught me anything. So they thought that, oh, this girl, she knows everything. Let her do it. We don't have to teach her. So nobody taught me anything, and my father will say, who doesn't have time for us, but has got huge expectations from us, just sit around and see how people do the work. Just make sure they don't do any mistake. How are you supposed to just do that without knowing the job yourself? So I had about 3 months to learn. So I worked my own way to learn things. I read up a lot. And after all those things, I found my own footing in the company. So I took up new roles. I started speaking to clients. I started changing from the uniform to the logo, the presentation of the security officers, the way clients are dealt with. And he got so impressed with me, and then he said, okay, fine, I'll open up a branch office for you. So eventually, I became the director of the company. Nothing came in easy. In between, there's lots of challenges, and there's a lot of times I felt like giving up because this is not my cup of tea. But after about like 6-8 months, I realized that, okay, there's no turning back now. You very well do this well. After all, it's your own business. Okay, so now finish studies, become graduate, and you have your own branch office to run. Father loves you to the core because you run the business. So mother started nagging, get married. Okay? It's time that, I was already 29. It's already like, look at other girls, 25, 26, getting married. And you have like spent all your time at work and studying and not thinking about this. Okay, so I got married. So of course, marriage, when you get to know someone, short period of time, you get married, there's lots of ups and downs. Handling the in-laws is another ball game. And then you don't have kids. Okay, yeah, you're so successful in career, this, that, but no kid. Okay, try for a kid. You have a kid. So the kid, right? So when you're going through all of these things, the day when you're supposed to deliver, it's supposed to be happiest day. But mine wasn't that. Even though I was such a big-time planner, planned every single thing in my life. But water bag broke about 3 a.m. About 24 hours later, then I got to deliver through emergency cesarean. So it was like the doctors came rushing to the room and saying that, oh, your baby is like lacking oxygen. So we have to do it now. Epidural has died off. And the whole works. So we were code red baby. My son was a code red baby. So much of things were going on. So every point of time, there's something makes me stop and think that, okay, so what is it I'm supposed to do? How am I supposed to deal with life after this? So after the cesarean and all that, I was in such a... So I can't take pain. So it's like I was in pain than more than anybody can expect. So I was like, with that, when I carried my son, I told him that if all the trouble have gone to give birth to you, I'm going to be the best mom for you. So, and he's 21 now, and he's still my first priority. Okay, so life goes on. At the age of 34, another tragic happened. I lost my husband in a big accident in Malaysia. So himself and 3 other friends, they drove to Malaysia. Halfway in the highway, the car met with an accident, toppled. 2 persons was dead on the spot. So I had just received a call from someone and saying that, do you know this person? Because we just picked up his phone, and then we saw the first name in the phone was Wifey, so I'm calling you. I don't think so the person is alive. So because there was 4 of them, right? So 4 of them got thrown out of the car. Apparently he picked up his phone and he called me. That was shocking. And I was at the temple and going back home, and I received this call. For a moment, I didn't know whether this guy is telling me the truth or not. So I just hanged on. And my son was with me. My son was 4 years old. So I just kept quiet and waited. A few minutes later, the guy called me back again. So he described to me how this guy who passed on looked. He was a bald-headed guy and all that, but my husband wasn't. So I thought, no, I think you're wrong. But this is his phone. You're calling me from my husband's phone, but the person you're describing as passed on isn't him. So I'm not too sure what's happening. They say, yeah, but there's 2 persons on the spot have passed on. 2 other persons are severely injured. We can't talk to anybody. So this is going on here. So I called my dad. I called my brother. So we rushed to Malaysia, JB. But of course, Singapore and JB, the custom is forever jam and all that, right? So it's we were stuck in the jam. But luckily, my brother went ahead. And then he saw my husband's... They brought him to the nearest hospital. And so were his friends. Still, we didn't know. And then, while you're dealing with this, my in-laws were calling and then giving me instructions on what to be done. Get an ambulance. Send him to Singapore. Send him to Mount E. All these instructions. So when all of these things going on, my son asked one question to me. Mummy, is father dead at 4 years old? And I could not say anything. Because you know why? He was able to hear the conversation of what was going on. Because nobody could give us any answers. So we were stuck in the jam. We came back to Singapore hospital. So we went to hospital. And then we saw him there. Doctors took hours to tell us that he was brain dead. And that too, my in-laws could not understand what actually brain dead is. So there's nothing we could do. That means he was brain dead at the spot of the accident site. So we got to deal with all of these things, right? And so what I did was immediately when the doctor declared he was brain dead, I carried my son to the nearest toilet in the hospital. I explained to him, because he was very close with his dad. So I explained to him that this has happened. And everybody cursed and swore at me. He said, well, how can you go and tell your 4-year-old son all these things? Because Indians has this habit that if someone has passed on in the family, you'll say, has gone to the God. So leaving the poor child not understanding. So what I did was, I explained to him what has actually went here and how things have changed. So I told him, from this moment onwards, I'm mommy and daddy for you. I'll make sure you don't like anything and I'll take care of you. So he just took the word from me. And then the funeral went by. Of course, the in-laws gave me lots of huge of trouble during the funeral time. And things just went on. Losing a loved one is one thing. And unfortunately, in this case, there was a lot of debts left behind as well. Because of his bad friends, bad working relationship, bad businessman. So this accident was a huge accident in 2016. So it's like everybody know about it. And a lot of banks, they started putting caveat and all that. So everything fell on my head. So after that, so I've got a family to take care of, I've got a business to run, and my late husband's debts to clear. My father told me one thing. Okay, he told me, either, because I always wanted to do my master's, so he always say, either go and do your master's and upgrade yourself, or give your 101% to the business back and build the business. So of course, with all this financial turmoil, so I decided to just do the business well. So I brought the business to the next level by working very hard, settled all his debts. It took me some years, and made my son realize that at every point of time, things happens to you, right? Instead of like giving up, cursing and swearing, and blaming the God, blaming the society, it's accountability. You get married to a person, you give birth to a child, you're 100% accountable for what happens. So, good thing, if something good happens, yeah, you're lucky. If something bad happens, you also have to bear that. So eventually, after going through all of these things, and then finding myself that, yeah, things happen for a reason. There was a bigger reason. It makes you stronger, right? Nowadays, kids, I realize that something small happens, they tend to go into depression. They say that, oh yeah, this is happening, so I'm depressed, I'm going to see a psychiatrist. But I think those days, our time, it wasn't even a topic to be discussed. It's like, you deal with it. You don't deal with it, you're going to be the loser. So, all of us, like, we have to do it. We don't do it, nobody's going to come and help you. They will just label you one kind and they will just leave you behind. So today people see me as a very strong woman and all that. But the struggles you go through, only you know. And only you are answerable to all of things. You will have lots of people. I have lots of people even encouraging me. A lot of people even cursing and swearing at me. Even when my late husband passed on, they said, one of the newspaper articles, they say, calm and collected. That's how they describe me. Why? Because I wasn't crying. I wasn't crying because there's so many things going on in my head. I can't be crying in front of my son. When I have so much of like things to do and I'm thinking, what's the next step? How am I going to bring my son? How am I going to settle the debts? And even though my parents were well-to-do, I would not take a single cent from them. So there's 1,001 things in my head going on. I'm thinking, what's the next move? Being a born leader, I think I should be doing next. How to make my son feel that he has lost his father. So that's how the paper described me. So I told myself, okay, those days when people used to Google me, right, this funeral article will come out. So, of course, me, I told myself, few years' time, when they Google, they will see something nice. Thank you.